6,000 years ago, in the flatlands between two rivers, a people we now call the Sumerians built the world's first cities. They invented writing. They built the first law codes, the first epic poetry, the first observatories. And they left behind a story, carved into clay, buried for millennia, about beings they called the Anunnaki, gods who came down from the heavens, shaped humanity with their own hands, and then, just as suddenly, were gone. For most of history, this was scripture. Today, it's the seed of one of the most persistent legends in modern pop culture, the idea that these gods were not gods at all, but visitors from another world. This is the story the Sumerians told about themselves, and the story we've told about them ever since. To understand the Anunnaki, you first have to understand who wrote about them roughly for 1000 BCE, in the marshy delta where the Tigris and Euphrates rivers meet the Persian Gulf. A civilization was taking shape, and like anything that had come before it, historians call them the Sumerians, though that's not what they called themselves. In their own language, they were the Sagjiga, the black-headed people. The Sumerians built the first true cities on Earth. Uruk, Eridu, Lagash, each centered on a towering stepped temple. A ziggurat, dedicated to a patron god. They organized irrigation on a massive scale, developed bronze tools, and by around 3400 BCE, they did something no human society had ever done before. They invented writing. It's called cuneiform, wedge-shaped marks pressed into wet clay with a reed stylus. It started as a way to track grain, livestock, and taxes, but within a few centuries, the Sumerians were using it to write law, poetry, mathematics, and myth. Tens of thousands of these tablets survive today, scattered across museum collections in Baghdad, London, Paris, and Philadelphia. Scholars spent much of the 19th and 20th centuries learning to read them. What they found was a mythology as complex as anything from Greece or Egypt, populated by a pantheon the Sumerians called the Anunnaki, those of royal blood, or, in some translations, those who came from the sky to earth. This is where the story, and the modern legend built on top of it, really begins. In Sumerian belief, the universe wasn't created by a single all-powerful god. It was governed by a council, a pantheon of deities each responsible for a different domain, ranked by authority, and prone, like any family, to conflict. At the top Saturn, sometimes written Anu, the god of the sky itself, and was the ancestor of the gods, the source of kingship. Distant and rarely active in the affairs of the world he'd set in motion. Below him came his children and their children, the working gods of the pantheon. Enlil, lord of the air and storms, held the tablets of destiny and effectively ran the world day to day. Enki, god of fresh water, wisdom, and crafts, was the patron of Eridu, considered by the Sumerians to be the very first city on earth, and the trickster benefactor who repeatedly saved humanity from his fellow gods' harsher decisions. Nana, the moon god, tracked time and the calendar. Utu, the sun god, presided over justice and laws. And Inanna, later known across Mesopotamia as Ishtar, was the goddess of love, fertility, and war, one of the most widely worshipped deities in the entire ancient Near East. Collectively, this family of gods and their descendants were the Anunnaki, and according to the myths, it was this council that decided humanity's fate. One of the most complete Sumerian Akkadian creation accounts is a text modern scholars call the Atrahasis epic, first assembled from tablets beginning in the early 20th century. Its premise is startling in its practicality. The gods, it says, had to work for a living. They dug the rivers and canals themselves, grueling in this labor. Eventually, the lower-ranking gods rebelled against Enlil, refusing to keep digging. To solve the crisis, the god Enki proposed a solution: create a new kind of being, one built specifically to labor on the god's behalf. Working with the mother goddess Ninhursag, sometimes called Mami or Nintu, the gods mixed clay with the blood of a slain deity and shaped the first human beings. In this account, humanity wasn't created out of divine love. It was created as a workforce to farm the land, maintain the temples, and free the gods from their own labor. It's a strikingly different creation story from the ones most Western audiences grew up with. Less about divine companionship, more about divine convenience. As humanity multiplied, the myths say, their noise disturbed Enlil's rest. Frustrated, he sent plague, then famine, then drought to thin their numbers. Each time, Enki secretly helped humanity survive. Finally, Enlil convinced the council to send a flood to wipe humanity out entirely. But Enki, bound by an oath not to warn humans directly, found a loophole. He spoke through the wall of a reed hut to a man named Atrahasis in one vision, Zeus in the Sumerian king list tradition, telling him to build a boat and save his family, his animals, and the seeds of every living thing. This flood narrative predates the biblical account of Noah by well over 1,000 years. Scholars widely regard the Mesopotamian flood myths, echoed later in the Epic of Gilgamesh's account of Utnapishtim, as one of the likely source traditions that influenced the flood story later written down in Genesis. When the waters receded, the myths say the gods regretted their decision. Humanity was spared, but never again fully trusted by the gods who made them. Across Sumerian and later Akkadian and Babylonian texts, the Anunnaki are credited with everything that made civilization possible: agriculture, irrigation, the calendar, writing, mathematics, law, and kingship itself. The Sumerian king list, a text-blending myth and administrative record, claims that kingship descended from heaven after the flood, legitimizing the rule of Sumerian city-states as a divine institution. The ziggurats these cities built weren't just temples. They were, in a sense, machines for maintaining the relationship between gods and mortals, a physical staircase connecting heaven and earth, tended daily by priests who fed, clothed, and cared for statues believed to house the presence of the gods themselves. As Sumerian civilization gave way to the Akkadian, Babylonian, and Assyrian empires, the Anunnaki didn't disappear. They were absorbed. Inanna became Ishtar, Enki became Me. The stories were retold, expanded, and eventually folded into the Enuma Elish, Babylon's own creation epic, written centuries after the original Sumerian tablets. For nearly 4,000 years, the Anunnaki were understood exactly as their creators intended, as gods that changed in the 20th century. In 1976, a writer named Zecharia Sitchin published The 12th Planet, the first in a series of books arguing that the Anunnaki were not gods at all, but flesh and blood extraterrestrials from a supposed undiscovered planet he called Nibiru. In Sitchin's retelling, the Anunnaki came to Earth roughly 450,000 years ago to mine gold, genetically engineered early humans as a labor force, and the entire Sumerian pantheon was, in effect, a folk memory of alien contact. Sitchin's work has sold millions of copies and remains a cornerstone of ancient astronaut theory to this day. But among professional Assyriologists, the scholars who actually read Sumerian and Akkadian in the original, his translations are considered deeply flawed. The word Sitchin translated as planet, for instance, doesn't appear that way in most academic readings of the same tablets. And no astronomical or planetary body called Nibiru has ever been identified by observational astronomy. That distinction matters. The Anunnaki of the actual Sumerian tablets are unmistakably mythological figures, woven into a religious worldview meant to explain kingship, labor, flood, and mortality, not a literal historical record of alien visitation. The gap between what the tablets say and what later authors claimed they say is, in its own way, as interesting as the myth itself. What the Sumerians left behind isn't a record of alien contact. It's something arguably more remarkable. The earliest surviving attempt by any human civilization to answer the biggest questions we still ask today. Where did we come from? Why do we work? Why do we suffer? And what, if anything, do we owe the forces that made us? For 1,000 years before anyone wrote those questions down again, a handful of scribes in the world's first cities pressed the answers into wet clay, and somehow, against every odd, we're still reading them.